The 2024 to 2025 NCAA season just keeps getting better and better, and we just had a ton of fast swimming take place, so I'm gonna recap everything I can right now. On Friday, we saw the Texas Longhorns take down LSU in both the men's and women's meets. This marks the first outing for the Texas men ever since Bob Bowman became their head coach. However, the craziest swim of the meet was on the women's side, as the two-time defending NCAA champion in the 200 fly, Emma Stickland, went a personal best in that event with a 149.77, which marks the 5th fastest performance ever. She was also within half a second of her personal best in the 100 fly with a 50.23. That easily makes her the fastest time in the NCAA this year by over a second and a half. One of the more eye-popping swims of the evening came from LSU, as Juri Hubar blasted an 18.30 split on the 200 medley relay to anchor LSU to victory past Texas. Later on in the meet, Hubar would also win the 50 and 100 freestyles, where he now ranks 3rd and 8th in the NCAA this year. Stanford transfer Rex Maurer is looking good in his debut swims for the Longhorns. He swam a personal best in the 1000 free to rank 2nd in the NCAA this year and currently leads the rankings in the 500 free. Olympic champion Hubert Koch made his Texas debut after following Bob Bowman there, where he picked up triple victories in the 100 back, 200 back, and the 100 fly. He currently ranks 4th, 2nd, and 5th in those 3 events in the NCAA with those swims. We saw some crazy fast swimming at the SMU Classic, as we do every year at this time in the season. Many of the top times right now are all from this meet from many different teams. In the team race, it was the Indiana men and the Louisville women that came away with victories from this meet. Virginia Tech's Carmen Wheeler-Sastre continues to impress this season, as she lowered her NCAA leading time in the 200 back to a 152.55 while also swimming the 2nd fastest 100 back this season. Texas A&M's Chloe Stepneck swam her way to a 144.22 in the 200 free to lead the NCAA this year, while also putting up the 4th fastest time in the 100 free. On the men's side, it was Virginia Tech's Carlos Colmarti to make headlines with a massive 150.77 in the 200 breast to blow away the NCAA rankings by over 2 seconds. He followed that up with the 2nd fastest 100 breast, losing out to Louisville's Dennis Petrashov at the same meet by 11/100ths. Indiana's recent addition from ASU, Owen McDonald, had the most individual wins out of anyone, going 4 for 4 in his events. Currently, he sits at 4th in the 500 free and 3rd in the 100 back, but his highest rankings are in the IMs, where he ranks 1st in both the 200 and the 400. Major Division II player University of Indianapolis was in attendance at the Dan Ross Intercollegiate Meet hosted by Purdue. While Purdue won both the men's and women's sides of the meet, it was the D2 swimmers that had some of the more notable results. Cedric Busing currently tops the D2 rankings in both the 200 and the 500 freestyles. Busing competed at the 2024 Paris Olympics and made history as the first D2 swimmer to appear in an Olympic final. Busing's teammate Jeremiah Pock dominated the 100 breast with a 52.21. That not only easily ranks 1st in D2 this year, but is actually 5th across all divisions. The University of Indianapolis women had a strong showing as well, as they put up division-leading times in the 50 free, 100 breast, and the 100 fly. We saw a new record set at the Minnesota versus Army dual meets. Not a record set by any of the swimmers in the pool, but an attendance record, as Minnesota cracked the 1,000 barrier for the first time in program history. This meet was the 3rd scheduled stop on swimming personality Kyle Sockwell's dual meet tour, after the UNCW versus Duke meet was canceled, and with the battle at the Burr being a big thing already on its own, this was our first look at a meet being pumped up by just the tour itself. And with 1,058 fans in the stands, it's looking like something is working. There are 5 more stops left in the tour, and we'll just have to see how high those meets can crank their attendance records. Inside the pool, Minnesota won both the men's and the women's meets. The Minnesota women were led by double event winners Katie McCarthy and Morgan Thomas. McCarthy was victorious in the distance races, winning both the 1,000 free and the 500 free, while Thomas won the 50 free and the 100 fly. For the men, we saw Jacob Johnson break the Minnesota school record in the 200 fly with a 142.41. That swim also ranks 3rd in the NCAA this year for the freshman. Army freshman Johnny Crush also broke his own school record in the 100 back, winning both the 100 back and the 100 free for Army's 2 event wins at the meet. We saw Division III Denison men and women open up their season at the Akron Zips Classic, where they started making an impact on the D3 event rankings. In the women's 200 and 500 freestyles, Emily Harris and Quinn Brown combined to give Dennison the two fastest times in both those events, with Harris taking the 200 and Brown the 500. On the men's side, Nick Hensel led off the 400 free relay in a 45.50 for division-leading time. Meanwhile, Christian McIntyre took the top spot in the 500 free. We saw the University of Georgia in action as the men took down South Carolina and the women took down both South Carolina and Vanderbilt. Many Georgia women made their way into the top 10 rankings for their events this season, but it was Rachel Stieg that took a number 1 spot, as her 4:39.08 is the fastest 500 free this season. The biggest story for the men was Luca Orlando, returning to NCAA competition for the first time in nearly 2 years after dealing with some shoulder injuries. Orlando was already back in action this summer, earning an Olympic spot in the 200 butterfly. Here, he posted a big-time swim of 1:39.87 in the 200 fly, which is a very fast swim this early in the season, and even crazier that it's only the second fastest swim so far this season because of how crazy fast Ilya Karun went last week. But Orlando got the best of Karun in the 100 fly, where his 44.16 reigned supreme. With how fast these two swimmers are going at this point in the season, it should be really interesting to see how they progress in the 200 fly from here on out, and the 100 fly should get really interesting once Josh Liendo starts posting times of his own. Speaking of Karun, we saw Arizona State in action once again in a quad meet with all other Division I Arizona schools, where ASU won all of their matchups. This was a mostly sprint-focused meet with odd event distances, which in terms of NCAA rankings isn't the most helpful for us because 50s of strokes aren't official events and you don't see people swim the 600 freestyle very often. But we did get to see some major speed from Karun anyways, as he blasted a 19.94 in the 50 fly. That is believed to be the second fastest flat start 50 fly ever, behind only Josh Liendo's 19.90 that he split leading off his 100 fly at last year's NCAAs. Karun also led off the 400 medley relay and posted a 45.33 in the 100 back, which is the second fastest in the NCAA this year as he continues to go on an in-season tear. The ASU women lowered their current fastest times in the 400 medley and the 200 free relays. The 400 medley ranks as the third fastest time this year and the 200 free as the fastest. Speaking of relays, on the men's side, the results show Johnny Kulo splitting a 39.6 anchoring ASU's B relay, but this is almost certainly a timing error given the fact that our butterflyer has been quite a bit faster and the results show Kulo going out in a 6.8. This more often than not indicates a soft touch from the previous swimmer. That's all for this week. There was a ton of fast swimming here, one of the most exciting weeks we've had so far. As always, let me know what I missed and I'll see you next time.